Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you share, unpack them, and really try to get to the core knowledge, helping you cut through all the noise.
That's the goal.
Today, we're tackling the Israel-Iran conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've sent us a lot on this. It's obviously a huge topic. We're going to use one really detailed source you provided. Israel-Iran war, origins, escalation, and future outlook, kind of as our main guide today.
Right.
You give a clear timeline as of June 18th, 2025. So our aim here is just to unpack the facts, the sequence of events, the implications, all based on what's in this material. It's sensitive, we know, but we're sticking to the source.
Yeah, think of this as your fast track to getting up to speed. This conflict, it wasn't sudden. It's been brewing for, decades and just recently burst into the open.
Right.
We'll pull out some surprising bits, some critical points from the source so you get the deep history and the recent big escalations. You know, how that long shadow war finally stepped out.
Okay, let's get into it then. Looking at this, it's obviously not something that just flared up yesterday. The source makes that clear. Can you maybe start us off with that long history?
Yeah.
Why is this a culmination, not just a sudden fight?
Absolutely. The source traces these tensions way back, specifically pinpointing Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution as the real starting point for this dynamic.
Okay, 79.
Yeah. And from Israel's point of view, Iran's constant backing of groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, plus its, ongoing nuclear program, well, that's always been seen as a direct threat. An existential one.
Existential, right. Not just politics.
Exactly. It's fundamental. This belief that one is a threat to the other's very existence. That's shaped things for, 40 plus years?
So it's been simmering, building pressure. And before this open conflict, there was this whole idea of a shadow war. The source mentions that. What did that actually look like? What kind of things were happening, behind the scenes?
Right, the shadow war. The source gives some pretty concrete examples. We're talking covert operations, cyber attacks.
Right.
Remember Stuxnet back in 2010?
Stuxnet, yeah. The worm that hit their centrifuges.
Exactly, that kind of thing. Sabotaging the nuclear program. And also targeted assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. The source specifically points to some in 2024 as part of this pattern.
So assassinations, cyber attacks,
Mm-hmm.
pretty intense stuff, even if it wasn't headline news every day.
Definitely. It was basically setting the stage, creating this environment where a bigger conflict was maybe inevitable, a war of sabotage before the missiles flew.
Okay, so that's the long build-up, the shadow war.
Mm-hmm.
Then the source points to a specific moment, a turning point. Operation Rising Lion, June 13th, 2025. What was the immediate spark? What kicked things off into this phase?
Yeah, that operation is key. The source connects the dots back to the Hamas attack on Israel in October 2023.
Right, the trigger for the Gaza conflict.
Exactly. And that led to Israeli strikes hitting Hezbollah, Syrian targets, other Iranian proxies like the Houthis. It was already widening.
Okay.
Then comes June 13th, 2025, Operation Rising Lion. Israel hits about 100 sites inside Iran. Big ones.
100 sites.
Yeah. Nuclear facilities, Natanz, Fordo, Isfahan are named. Missile bases, IRGC command centers, even energy infrastructure. It wasn't just a tit for tat, it was, pretty comprehensive. A major preemptive move.
That sounds huge. Far bigger than, say, a typical retaliation. What does the source say about the scale, the immediate effect? How successful was it, according to the material?
Well, the source says hundreds of missiles and drones were involved. So, yeah, the scale was massive. And the impact, pretty significant. Key Iranian military figures were reportedly killed. General Salami, Major General Bagheri are mentioned by name.
Top commanders.
Yes, and several nuclear scientists, too. Israel also claimed it gained air superiority over Tehran, striking deep inside Iran. The source seems to indicate these claims are generally backed up by the damage assessments that followed.
Okay, so Israel launches this huge operation. Iran's response must have been significant, too. What does the source describe? Was it that overwhelming counterpunch you might expect? Or did Israel's defenses cope?
Iran definitely hit back. Missile barrages, drone swarms, aimed at major Israeli cities like Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa, military sites too. They did, and this is crucial in the source, a very large number of these were intercepted. Israel's Iron Dome, its arrow systems, they reportedly knocked down most of the incoming threats.
Okay. So the defense systems really played a major role.
A huge role. It highlights just how effective those layered defenses apparently were against that kind of attack. Prevented much worse damage, it seems.
One thing in the source that really jumped out at me was this mention of Iran's attacks becoming smaller over time. The later waves were apparently less intense. What does the source suggest it tells us?
That's a really fascinating point. Yeah, it hints at some serious potential problems for Iran.
Like what?
Well, the source says recent waves involve maybe only 20 to 40 missiles each time. That's way down from the initial barrages.
20 to 40. That's not much for a major power.
Right. And the source suggests a couple of possible reasons. One, maybe their missile stocks are seriously depleted. Two, maybe Israel